Welcome to the next episode of the MDG Boston MedTech Mastermind videocast series. I'm your host, Ilsa Webeck from MedTech Strategies. This videocast series was designed to bring more voices from MDG Boston to our community, and we cover a set of 5 questions to some of the brightest minds of the industry. I'm thrilled to have with me today John Kawola, the Chief Executive Officer at Boston Microfabrication. John, thank you for joining us on this videocast.
Yes. Hi, Elsa. Thanks for having me.
Great. Before we get started, a little about MDG Boston. MDG was founded over 20 years ago as a networking and information sharing group and has grown to host in-person and online forums, networking events, and educational gatherings, as well as provide online resources through our website. What started as a small restaurant gathering of friends is now an internationally known organization with about 10,000 in our network and about 20 sponsor organizations. And I'm excited to have this videocast series to share some insights from our guests. So John, let's get to the first question. Can you briefly introduce yourself and share your background and area of expertise?
Yeah, so I've been a sort of technology executive here in Boston for about the last 25 years. And most of that experience has been in advanced manufacturing technologies, 3D printing, advanced materials. And we sort of historically been involved in a bunch of different markets, but one of them certainly has been in the medical device space. Lots of trends that are happening, whether that's less invasive surgeries or better ways to deliver drugs. I mean, there's always a huge amount of things going on there, and then that goes along with the development is often the prototyping part of it, but also the manufacturing part of that. And I've been, lucky to be involved and, met lots of different innovators in medical device, and some of them have been our customers.
Yeah, great. There's been a lot of innovation in this space for sure. And you mentioned that there's been some interesting innovation. So that's my next question is about how you're looking at those innovations and what do you see are sort of the most interesting or impactful ones that you're advancing today?
Yeah, so certainly with advanced manufacturing technologies like digital scanning and digital manufacturing, there's been a lot of trends that have happened in the last 10 or 15 years about personalization, especially. So things like orthopedic implants, a lot of orthopedic implants that historically, you're using a size 6 to fit into your knee or hip. Increasingly, that can be personalized, where there's a scan and using additive manufacturing technologies that can create, a device that's specific to you. Other things like the dental market, for example. A lot of the dental market is now, I'll say 3D printing and additive manufacturing is very much a tool that's been fully adopted in dental. And one of the reasons for that, and this is true pretty much across a lot of medtech device applications, is applications where things are personalized. So if you think about dental, for example, every single thing in dental, so whether that's a mouth guard or a crown or whatever that may be, is unique and different. So that makes that a little bit difficult for mass manufacturing technologies. So that's why additive manufacturing has been a real win there. And then certainly we've seen things moving toward implant technologies, drug delivery technologies. A lot of why we exist, so BMF, Boston Microfabrication, our sort of niche in additive manufacturing is that we have very, very high resolution, very high precision. That tends to mean most of our customers are making things that are very small. And so that trend of miniaturization is happening across lots of industries. So it's certainly happening across electronics and optics and photonics, but it's also certainly happening in medical device. And one of the rules of manufacturing, there's many rules of manufacturing, but one of the rules is as things get smaller, they get harder and harder to make the conventional way. And so additive manufacturing has fit in quite well for those types of applications where you want to make the surgical tool smaller or you want to make the drug device smaller. And there's usually, especially in medicine, things like a sensor or a surgical device, having it be smaller has huge advantages.
Yeah, and given the breadth of the different industries that you're working in and the miniaturization of everything, are there particular challenges, like one challenge that you're looking to address right now, or an area that is particularly interesting that you really want to take head on, and leveraging your team expertise is enable you to do that?
Yeah, so we're really working on, a, a number of different initiatives. We're supporting a whole bunch of customers. We have, many dozens and dozens of customers in the medical device space who are using our technology, to develop new products. We're also actively involved in a couple initiatives ourselves. One is actually in the dental space. We're actually working on, I'll show you a little picture here, but we're working on one application in dental, which is cosmetic veneers. So these are cosmetic, typically go on the front of your teeth, either to fix small teeth or close a gap or cover a chip or to whiten. And so what we can bring that's unique is we can make these very, very thin. And so most people don't have an experience having a veneer, but one of the number one reason people don't get veneers historically is that they're relatively thick. And so it means that the dentist really has to grind down your teeth, which is not pleasant. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to remove sort of good enamel. So one of the ways these types of technologies, including ours, is trying to address that is by making them very thin. And therefore, the doctor has to, one, do less work, so that's good for them, but also take away less of the enamel. So that's one use of the technology that, like, you can't make this another way. So you can't make this through milling or some other technology, but you can use it using what we have. We're doing things with a lot of our customers are using our technology for what are called endoscope shells. They're about this big, and endoscope shells go on the end of an endoscope, and then they go in your body for hopefully only 10 or 15 minutes for exploration. Well, the challenge with endoscope shells is they're very complex. And the trend is you want to make that small, you want to make it smaller. So you're trying to fit a camera and water and a light source and all these things into a very small package. So they want to make it as small as they possibly can make it and then do everything they need it to do. And so we're very much involved in those types of applications that are getting smaller. The challenge is certainly it is medical device. So it's regulated. The materials have to be safe. There needs to be processes that need to go through, whether it's getting a clearance on a material or a clearance on a device. Whoever ends up manufacturing these products, whether they're sort of mass quantity of the same in this case, or every single one is different in this case, you need a facility that's regulated to a certain degree, conforming to good manufacturing process. So that's not unique to additive manufacturing, but it's a challenge. The materials, have to go through you got to go through a whole litany of sort of biocompatibility tests and got to make sure it's going to be safe for the user. I think the good part about that, I'm not going to say it's easy, but the saving grace for that is typically these types of devices are only used for a short period of time, and then they're thrown away, then they're disposed of. So in implants, for example, that have to stay in your body, have to prove that they're safe and they're going to last a long time. So there's going to be a range of requirements on the materials, and that's been true forever, whether it's things are being molded or machined, or whether they're being being made with additive manufacturing.
Yeah, it's interesting, and given the variety in areas that you're really tackling some of those future applications today, but what about the future past today? What advancements do you see on the horizon, or how do you think some of this miniaturization is going to impact your industry?
Yeah, well, I think often it takes things, big disruptions that happen in our life to get people moving, I guess is a good way to put it. Drug delivery is a very good example. I think that we all discovered as a world that immunizing billions of people with the needle and the vial doesn't scale very well. The world has lived through that. So there has always been lots of development, a little bit more, research-based work on how do you deliver sort of crucial immunization or drugs through microneedles or patches. Now, patches have been used for things like, curbing nicotine and other things, but could those types of technologies be used to deliver drugs for immunization? That really hasn't scaled yet. But as people look at that, they say, well, that's how you're going to have to scale it versus everybody having to go to, a drugstore for immunization with a needle and a vial. So those are some of the things that have happened in the recent past that I think has sort of shaken everybody up a little bit and said, okay, this is research that's been going on for a long time. How do we go faster? And so it's trying to use some of these advanced technologies to be able to, whether it's in digital manufacturing or advanced materials, or even thinking about the logistics and the supply chain. Like, how do you deliver all these patches? And how do you make sure the right people are taking them? And how do you make sure people don't take them more than they should take them? So there's every part of that process, whether it's down to the material science or the actual logistics of how to deliver these devices, I think is being closely looked at.
Yeah, then given the speed with which your space is changing, given the pandemic had that huge impact on the delivery and thinking about the future, what advice do you have for companies? I know you talk to a lot of clients and organizations that are interested in miniaturization, but what advice do you have for folks that are looking at this space or that might be interested in having a smaller approach for their technology?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's trying to have either yourself or your team try to be as educated as possible. I mean, there's lots of technologies out there. I mean, whether it's you know uh, data capture, which is important in medical device because you need to usually very often you're scanning in some way, like an intraoral scan where somebody's sticking something in your mouth to look at your teeth has become pretty commonplace now. That wasn't true 10 years ago, but you go to sort of 4 out of 5 dentists and they all have intraoral scanners. But the point is, I think there's lots of technologies out there that have potential to scale today. And depending on the application, for some applications, the economics still probably don't make sense. Like if you are using these types of digital technologies and you want to make 100 million of something, that may not quite scale today. But there's lots of applications, out there that are tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. And even if it's 100,000 of the same thing or tens of thousands of the same thing, very often using additive technology gets you to additive manufacturing technology gets you to market a lot faster because you can scale up faster. You don't have to worry about complex sort of tooling and manufacturing setup. You can be somewhat distributed. So you could have factories in multiple parts of the world and instead of being centralized. So there's all these advantages. And so the advice I would give to teams is there's a lot of existing technologies or technologies that are evolving, and they're evolving pretty quickly. Like even when we think about our business, what has changed, even we've only really been around for about 5 years, is the material science has drastically evolved. And it's not just us. So, we're doing what we're doing, but there's plenty of people doing other things, and there's lots of opportunities for collaboration. We're using materials from other companies on our platform, and that really helps to speed things up.
Yeah, well, given all the variety, it sounds like the advice might be to come talk to your team so they can get some insight on what options there are. So great. Thank you very much for going through the questions.
Yeah,
It was really interesting, and I don't personally do a lot with miniaturization, so it was really interesting to hear the different variety of technologies and the approaches that you're taking. So thank you very much. Yeah.
sounds great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And so I just want to thank John Kawola and Boston Microfabrication for being longtime supporters of MDG. So please check out the recordings of our previous events where the BMF team members have shared their expertise. I want to take a moment to highlight the MDG Boston mission, which is to promote and nurture an ecosystem that accelerates medical technology development by innovators and entrepreneurs to advance healthcare outcomes. And we hope you enjoyed this episode of our MedTech Masterminds in support of this mission, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.